I think I'm live. Oh, yeah, and my camera's working. Hi, Erin Zen Warrior here. So I have been meaning to do you guys another yoga video. I wanted to do you one or a mobility video, and I wanted to do you guys one every week. And I've missed the last 2 weeks because I actually kind of got some kind of lovely vomit virus. There we go, on a date. Yeah, I got some vomit virus, and that took me out for like a week. And I've just been getting back into the swing of things. And I wanted to do one for you last week, and I didn't quite get there. So now I'm getting here on Monday at the start of this week in the hope that I can try to make up some lost ground and do another one on the weekend. Today we are going to be working on the shoulders, as you can see by the title, and we're going to use a Dynaband. You can also use one of the loop TheraBands. I'm going to use a couple of 1 kilo weights. You could also use, and this is more mobility than yoga, so to speak. You could use a couple of 1 kilo weights. These are ankle weights, or you could use like 2 small Coke bottles filled with sand or something similar. I'm going to use myself a therapy ball, tennis ball. I'm going to use the edge of a couch, or in my case, since I don't have a couch, a block, and then a yoga block. And I have another therapy band here. You probably can sub the same too. This one I've tied a loop in, so you're going to need a loop. And then the last thing that I've got going on is I'm going to use one of the foam rollers as well. So I'm not quite sure how long this is going to take. I'm shooting it live, so let's see. But I'm hoping this should come in under 20 minutes. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my therapy ball. So if you haven't seen one of these before, this one's super hard, which I really love. And I'm actually going to take my block, because my mat's a bit squishy, but there's lots of ways you can do this. So I'm going to show you without a block and with a block. The block is a little less forgiving. So what I want to do is you can actually see it on my shoulders really clearly. Because I've done a lot, I work a lot with my hands. Hello, Thomas. Because I work a lot with my hands, and I work a lot in this sort of forward motion, which is common for most of us. Most people watching probably work at a desk, the same thing. You get very like shortened into here, and then the shoulder has this tendency to roll forward. And there's a lot of reasons why this is happening. But what we actually want to do is try to release as much of this as possible. Now, you can foam roll the ribs, which I would recommend as well. And you can also therapy ball somewhere through this pec to delt area. So I'm going to do that to start with. So coming down to here, I'm going to put the ball into my shoulder. I'm going to shape my hand kind of like in this tree position, but I'm going to play with it a lot, so I'm not going to keep it stuck there. So I can take it in a tree position and roll it around, or I can straighten it out a bit and roll it around. Now, what I like to do if I'm not using the block is I like to sort of roll over and into it as well. And I'm going to spend like a minute or two here. But like I said, and I'm looking to relieve the soft tissue, so that then when I go to use it differently, I'm going to get a different range because I've released that front tissue first. So the 3 S's of therapy, very old school stuff here, is soft tissue release, which is what I'm doing now, stretch, and then strengthen. And I've come further in with the ball. So, like I said, this is the slightly easier option, though as you get into that chest, it doesn't feel easy, not to me anyway. And I might even want to avoid the breast tissue here, but I might want to really come in even along the collarbone as well, because the tissue runs over the bone and it gives you access, to compress this bone gives you access into a lot of that tissue, but I also want to get in here as well. Areas where masseuses often don't go. not all masseuses, depends on who you have, but your standard everyday average person you might walk in off the street and see probably isn't going to go there. So changing sides, I'm just going to show you this other option here where I've got the ball straight onto that brick, and these bricks are really dense. They look like cork, but they're pretend cork. They're more like glue and wood shavings. And as a result, they look really nice, but they are solid, very solid. So between the ball and this, there's not a lot of give. And you see here, I'm not bothering to roll open on that. And this suits also, it suits my body shape, but it suits a body shape that actually struggles to get enough pressure between the ground and their shoulder. Still, as I go into the chest, I'm probably going to find myself limited, but that depends. I'm just resting there. That hurts a touch. So there's a start to open those shoulders up. I'm going to take my foam roller straight away just to point out what I was talking about at the start. So like I said, a couple of minutes there on each of the shoulders and into the chest. You can even go down and trigger point through the bicep and into the back of the tricep or the back of the arm. But you can also use the foam roller for this. So big fan of my foam roller here, but I could use a ball, and I could also use a ball, particularly a big spiky one is super good under the ribs. What I was also talking about was actually rolling out these ribs here. And I want to make sure I get right down into those nasty little lower ribs that have happened to hold a lot of tension on me. Rolling through, rolling back. And I want to look around. So you'll notice I've tilted myself up to see what else I can find. I found quite a nice little knot just around where the scapula, the shoulder blade, meets the ribs. And there's some lovely junk in there. And that's actually quite an important area for this roll forward in the shoulder as well. And then I also want to get right in the back there. There's a nice rotator cuff point in there. Well, I'm here, I might as well transition through the back of my ribs. Wriggle around a bit. See what I can find. And then, of course, other side. Might change into where I can face you. So again, so there I can do that the head of the tricep, which doesn't feel too bad because I've done it recently. But right in the back of that shoulder blade, delightful. When people ask me how often they should do like foam rolling, I'm like, if you don't move much every day, and if you move lots every day, and if you're a moderate mover, that is, you kind of have a balance between rest and moving, it's a magic term then you can probably get away with foam rolling like each of your major areas, unless you've got a specific problem or a specific injury, once, twice a week for sort of each area. So I'm doing like the upper body now, and then I might do the legs on a different day. I probably foam roll only a couple of times a week. And I'm relatively active, but I don't do high intensity every day. I probably do high intensity 2-3 times a week and very different stuff. And I don't do lots of weights. If you're doing lots of weights, I mean, there's arguments for and against this depending on what you're trying to achieve with the weights, but I would be foam rolling after every weight session to mitigate DOMS, delayed onset muscle soreness, so that I can train again if that's my intention to continue to train a lot. So I've done lots of rolling through the ribs. I've done this opening here. I'm now going to take my 1 kilo weights. I'm just going to take one of them. I might, for this exercise, take 2, and then you can stick them together. I'll hold them in one hand. So if I do that, the beauty of an ankle weight. So you could take a 2 kilo. You may also find that this exercise for, what's it called, for what I'm about to use it for, is enough with just the 1 kilo. So now I have a 2 kilo weight. So I'm going to slide my knees against this. I hope you can see this well. And I'm going to slide my hand here. So what I'm going to do here is what I call a sideline double rotation. And it's a double rotation because the basic action is to take my arm to here. And now you see how the tension along here has lifted this hip. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to work against this arm to push this back. Now you can do this without weight. Very effective. Very good warm-up before working out. Right, so without weight. Or you can take the weight and control it. And now I have a delt exercise. I'm going to be careful to pull the shoulder away from the ear and down towards the hip. And I'm going to take this open. And I'm going to take it to where I can control it. And I'm playing with a straight arm. You can start with a bent arm. Over time, as you get stronger, start working the straight arm strength there. And then I'm going to bring it back. Now, if I'm doing a heavier weight, which I don't need to, this 2 kilo is enough, I could actually rest my hand here and make it a little less active. But right now what I'm doing is I'm resisting here this to keep control of the weight and back. How many reps should I do? Well, the body doesn't really know reps. It knows what it feels like. And I want to take this, if you're doing a nice light weight, you probably want to do quite high reps as long as the form is good, because we're aiming for mobility here, not necessarily fatigue. So I want good endurance, but I don't need to completely exhaust my muscle and start doing crappy form. So once I hit that point where my form is like, oh, you've had enough, then I change it over. So I'm going to take this to the other side. Grab my weight. Velcro together. Again, open. I'm just doing a set of 8. Don't need to keep you guys waiting. So, while you're doing that one, pulling in those abdominals is always our base, right? This idea of radial contraction gets very lost sitting at a desk all day. So it's always good to bring it back. Yes, it should naturally occur. We shouldn't have to contrive it, but unfortunately that's not the world we live in, and most of us do need to contrive it in order to train that in. Again, don't go too heavy on the weight there. So next one, we're going to go, hello man. Oh, he's wet, lovely. I think he came to dry himself on me more than anything. So this is Thomas. If you guys haven't met Thomas yet, this is a man who's very happy to be picked up right now and very happy to interrupt any session on the mat, aren't you, wee man? All right, so my band is to give me a bit of resistance. I'm going to push against it slightly, but I also want to keep these arms like shoulder, that's the best way to show that, shoulder distance apart. So I've got my screen down low so I can see what you guys are seeing. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to brace my wrists with my block, and now I've got my hands yay distance, or my elbows yay distance apart. I'm going to bring this onto the edge here, and I'm going to push down and drop my head. Now, so this block is bracketing my wrist, so I don't want to be here. I want to be here. And I'm going to drop my head down, suck my ribs in, and then from here, I'm going to drop my ribs and then suck my ribs in. So essentially I'm doing a cat and cow as you would in yoga, but I'm doing that cat and cow with my arms up here and trying to like get an extra stretch under my shoulders. So if you're sort of pre-handstand, or like I was very, very stuck in this shoulder mobility up here, you can still see that I don't have a huge amount of range here, but I used to be terrible. Then doing this kind of exercise and learning to control the abdominals, control the ribs, and also giving it some nice side movement. And I'm going to be organic and like skipping my rib cage around. And now I'm going to shut it all down. My next movement here is holding onto the ribs as much as I can, pushing my armpits to the ground where I want the stretch. So I don't want the stretch in the ribs. I want the stretch in the armpits. And I'm going to bend my elbows and try to touch that brick right to my back, keeping hold of everything else and keeping a bit of tension on that band. But also the band prevents those whose elbows want to skirt out too much. And again, how many of these should I do? Well, at least 10 is my answer here. And I would say as many as feel good after that. This is very much a bit of active mobility. I'm going to give it a squeeze right on that end range, really trying to squeeze it as much as I can to my back. And as I do that squeeze, pushing down, keeping hold of the ribs. All right. Once I've done 10 of these, I'm going to do this cute little elbow lift. Now, when I do this, so I keep this back here, it's the next exercise. So I'm on the edge of the couch, right? Or you might want to use like a dining room chair just so that you've got like something that's quite firm. From here, I'm going to push down with my elbows and I'm going to lift one. Push down with my elbows, lift one. And as I lift it just a little bit off the black box here, I'm going to try and hold on to my ribs so that my ribs don't pop out. So as I lift, keep in control. The idea is only the elbows move. And again, how many of these am I going to do? Well, at least 10 per side. So that's an alternating count of 20. Now you may find your shoulders are so jacked and you've got this in such a nice tight little position, oh, that was my ribs going, that you can actually lift your elbow, and that's fine. You want to watch out like flying. A lot of people fly around here. You've got to try and shut down the movement completely in your upper body and then just push the elbow forward, push the elbow forward, push the elbow forward. Push the elbow forward. Yeah? Once you've done 20 of those, stretch it all the way out again. I'm slowly going to bring this up. It's a surprising amount of work. It might make it look easy. Don't find it easy. Okay. So the next one I'm going to come into, his nibs has returned. All right. So the next one I'm going to come into is 2 exercises to help with the rotation and again to come back into this opening here. So I'm going to take my loop and I'm going to feed it. You'll notice I'm not using the loop I was using before because that's a cloth one and it just won't stretch the way I want it to. So I'm sitting on my knees here. I need you to see that. And I'm going to take hold of this loop and I'm going to take it around my back and down under there. Try not to get the hair involved in it. It's a bit evil. So down under here. And then I'm going to bring this around to here. Right? So that's my position with my band. From here, I'm going to take this elbow, and basically we're going to use the band to do the same action, but to give resistance in both directions. So from here, I'm going to take this elbow down, and then I'm going to rotate all the way up. And I'm going to really squeeze it through the range. Take it down, rotate it all the way up. Down. And again, how many reps? We are looking at something that we want endurance over. So we want endurance length reps, like 12, 20, anything like that. Big numbers. I'm probably not going to do big numbers. I'm going to go for 4 more on this side. So I've done 12, I think. Personal trainers, we're not good at counting. And then carefully taking the band off my shoulder to flip it to the other side. Careful because these things do snap and they do break and stuff like that. So, you know, check them out beforehand. Keep in mind where they might go, what they might smack as they break. Again, I'm getting that nice and low. I was getting it a bit too high before, and you don't want that. And again, I'm keeping hold of my abs in this position as well. Always looking for that stabilization that I might not be so good at. Trying not to pull my hair out. And I'm going to bring that down again. Other side this time. This time I might give you a slightly different view. I'm coming into here. I'm going to rotate up. Bring it down to touch. Oh, and there we go. This band, I used a different band earlier, and this band I don't like as much. But I broke the last one. So, down, rotate, down, rotate. Trying not to grimace my face too much, so look at the camera. Two more. And releasing that. Okay, so I said we're going to do the same action but use the band differently to get different resistance. So this time, go back to my original shoulder. I'm going to hook this over here. Fun times. And I'm going to take this straight down to the ground. So fairly simple hookup. From here, taking this elbow, same movement, don't lose it off your shoulder. So in this position, that's about as low as my shoulder wants to go before I'm smacking my hand with a rubber band. And then I'm going to rotate it all the way up. I want the resistance of the band anyway, so I don't need to go super low, because at a certain point, it's not doing me any favors. And I really want to squeeze it up on that rotation at the top. Through both of these activities and these actions, I'm trying to stay very stabilized on my sit bones. So I'm trying not to do this too much. 2 more. And releasing that down. We're going to change it over. So 1 more side to go. Trying not to pull out the hair. Don't think the hairdresser charges me less if I have less. So I'm here, bring that down. That's about where it's going to roll off my shoulder, and I bring it up. There it is. Actually going to give you a side view anyway. Also note when they get rolled up like this, they start behaving as if they're a little shorter, so you may want to unroll them. Not everything's a perfect machine. And from here, up. You may also want to think about following this movement with your eyes. The spine follows the gaze. Now we say that in yoga. The spine follows the gaze. And 2 more. Releasing it down. I'm trying to think where I got this one from. Such a cool exercise. I think I got it from someone online actually. I was like, excellent idea. Let's use that. Right, next one. I would have to say for someone who didn't have a back bend and for had those, as someone who had those really jacked shoulders, this is one of my next favorites. So, like I said, we did some soft tissue release, the foam rolling and the ball. We did some stretching. We started doing some nice active stuff. This is a big full chain active exercise. I think that baby may get in my way a little bit. Just make sure I've got room. Okay, so known as a toad. Actually, I might use the block as a reference. You can use a wall for this. I'm going to show 2 different versions. I'm going to show the version that I usually get people doing to start with so that they can start to get an idea of just what is required here as they do this. As we change it, it actually does change the movement and how it activates the movement. So what I've done here is I've set the roller somewhere around the bottom of my collarbone, not collarbones, scapulas, shoulder blades. I was looking for a common term for that, sorry. So I've set that under there so that I've got this kind of back bend movement here. And in theory, my head should come pretty close to the ground, but mobility is going to change that for some of you. Now, this one is a bit of a hard one on the head and the neck. So for those of you who aren't strong here, aren't used to this kind of mobility, you're going to want to do about 2 or 3. Give it a rest, give the neck a release, 2 or 3 more, 2 or 3 more. Start with slow numbers. Something is going to make a difference. It doesn't have to be lots of reps. Remember, the body doesn't understand reps, right? It understands how it feels in the muscle. So from here, I've turned my feet in slightly. I'm going to start with my abs sucked in and my hips tilted. I'm going to reach up. You're really going to see how limited my shoulder range is here. Yeah, look at back there. I'm going to reach up. I'm going to imagine there's a rainbow to touch. And I'm going to reach, 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 reach. You see when my shoulders start to hit my ears, I've got a choice now. I can either stay here and just play with this, or I can start to, with my abs pulled in, really hooking my pelvis, let my rib cage release back. Now I've taken my head with me. The reason I've taken my head with me is because I prefer it. I do suggest to some people keep staring at your knees because it's going to be easier on your neck, okay? For me, I get better range if my spine follows my gaze. So I take that back, abs in, abs in, abs in, and I'm trying to hook that pelvis towards my face. So I'm not here, I'm here. Take it back, take it back, take it back, take it back. Once I've gone as far as I can go, I am going to let that hip complex go. I'm still reaching like there's a rainbow over there for me to touch. Now I'm going to hook that pelvis in, and I'm going to reach all the way up. So this to me is nice, a nice basic starting toad. And it's really good for getting that like ab, pelvic, rib cage rhythm going. So from here, reach, 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 reach. Lots of abs, trying to press my lower back into the ground, reaching back, reaching back, reaching back. I'm going to push it with my abs in. And now I'm going to start to let the ribs go, ribs go, ribs go, ribs go, ribs go, ribs go. And now full lumbar pelvic all the way. And you'll notice with my body that it starts to open up. Now I'm going to just hook the lower abs, turn the pelvis. And reach, 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 reach. Now that's the full movement, right? I'm actually not going to show you the second one today. I actually think that's enough for you guys to go away with. You want to see the second one? Demand it from me. I think this is enough. It's just getting that movement going. And you want to get like the ability to control the lower part and release the upper part and then let the lower go. And then control the lower part and then pull the upper in. I think it's such a great exercise. While you're doing the shoulders, you want to reach and shrug. So I'm not here. I'm here. And it's a big shrug all the way forward and back. Yeah? I'm going to end with one delightful little yoga pose. Though I would recommend that there are so many you can do here. A great supported fish pose might be a nice way to go. You might want to run all these exercises for another round, including the ball release and the wriggles and all that sort of stuff. It makes a great longer workout. And certainly you may want to do that back bend a few more times as well. From here, I'm going to do a nice little snake pose. You can also do a locust. So I'm going to let my feet be about hip distance apart, right? And that's just to make it a little bit easier. If you want a little bit harder, just bring those feet right in, stick them together. From here, I'm going to take my hands behind my back and interlace them. Forehead on the ground. I take a deep breath in. I'm going to suck my abs and hold the breath. Reach for my feet. My feet lift up. My gaze is fairly neutral, and I'm going to lift those hands up off the ground. And down. And I'm going to go again. Abs in. Take a deep breath in. Lift, reach. So I'm reaching for my feet and reaching for the sky. And down. And again. Excellent. From here, just giving myself a wriggle round in a seal pose. Being quite the feature today, aren't we? He's not the kind of cat that climbs on my back while I do a down dog. He's the kind of cat that lies behind my back while I do a plow pose, and then I can't get out without squishing him or being an acrobat. Excellent. And I go back into my child pose and reach it out. So this is actually a cool little workout, and you'll find that it creates a little bit of heat as well. It's also going to help a lot with your spine, your central nervous system, which is your spine and your brain. And honestly, doing a workout like this once or twice a week will significantly change what's happening in this upper body if you're coming from nothing. If you're looking to get really big gains, I would probably combine this with a few other things, of course, to do with my shoulders and back bends. There's so many different exercises, but this is such a nice maintenance sort of situation for any athlete, any desk dweller. It's really pretty much suitable for everyone. Remember, whenever you're doing any of this stuff online, that you need to work within the realm of what you can do. There are a lot of people out there doing handstands, and they'd actually be better off doing this first and building up cohesive strength around their shoulder joint before they go running, or stuff like this, not just this, before they go running into loading all of their body weight over their shoulders and their elbows and their wrists when their bodies haven't been doing enough to build them up for that in the first place. I do a lot of different stuff. I've been active my whole life. I did a lot of prep to just be able to do handstands safely for my shoulders and not have all the joints attached to the arms suffer. So keep that in mind. If you have any questions, shoot them down below. Send me a private message. Look for me on Facebook. Look for me on Instagram. Look for me on the web. By all means, ask me any questions you like. I'll take requests. And don't forget to like and subscribe. I hope you guys have a great day. I hope you find something useful out of this. The challenge is try one exercise for a week. Every day for a week, just pick one exercise out of what I did. See how you feel by the end of the week. Have a great day. Zen Warrior signing out.